Hi, and welcome to the introductory video for the course I'm going to be offering on how I make a living from my bed with Zazzle.com. My name is Nathalie. I'm also known as Dragonflies Dreams. I'm a Pro Gold Zazzle store owner, and I have Myalgic Encephalomyelitis and am currently bedbound. Before we start, I just want to address a few issues. The first one, as you will have already noticed, is the sound is not great. One of my symptoms is I'm constantly overheating. So I have an aircon on, but I also have to have a fan directly next to me. So unfortunately that does affect the sound. So please just bear with me. Not a whole lot I can do. Then the other thing is, this is a pre-recorded video just so I can get a feel for how the software and all of that stuff works, but I'm anticipating that future videos will be done as live streams, which are then available after the fact on YouTube. So we'll see how that goes, but yeah, that's the plan. Then something else that I just need to advise you of is another one of my symptoms is that I have some speech issues. How that definitely here we go. How that usually presents itself is what has now just started to happen, which is where I might stutter, or I also have a vocal tic, so I will just out of nowhere say something. It's usually like ba 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 or bish bish. I'm not calling anyone a bitch, it's bish. That's a popular one, but basically if I just make any weird sounds, just ignore it. I'm not having a stroke, it's all perfectly normal for me. Very occasionally I struggle to speak, so I open my mouth but nothing comes out. Thankfully it only lasts a couple of seconds, so if it suddenly goes silent, don't worry, nothing's wrong, and it only lasts a couple of seconds, so I will start up again. I do have fairly bad brain fog. So sometimes when I'm speaking I do lose track of what I was speaking about, but that's why I have the PowerPoint with prompts so that I make sure that I get to all the important things, but occasionally I will forget what I was just saying. Then the other thing is, due to the illness, I can't commit to any sort of schedule for videos, so I'm going to try and aim for one a week, but I can't make any guarantees. I do recommend that you've either subscribe to the channel so that you do see new videos when they come up, or you can also follow my Facebook page, Dragonflies Dreams, or there's also a Facebook group you can join, because I will post links to new videos when they're available. Video length, because this course is aimed at people who have, whether it's myalgic encephalomyelitis or another chronic illness, I am going to try and keep the videos short, because I know people struggle with brain fog, concentration, all of those things. So I will try to keep them short, but there will be certain videos where it's necessary for them to be a bit longer. If you are struggling, this video will probably be a bit longer because I've got quite a lot of stuff I want to cover. So if you are struggling, please just pause, and you can, that's the great thing about YouTube, you can come back to it tomorrow or next week or whenever it is you're able, and just pick up where you left off. But I will try to keep the videos, just give you the information in short small bite-sized pieces. Then the other thing is reading a lot and typing a lot is difficult for me. So if there are questions that you post in the comments, I will at least try to give a response, although my response might be I will address it in the next video, because it's obviously a lot easier for me to explain something than it is to type out a whole thing. Regarding comments here on YouTube, I actually do recommend that you rather join the Facebook group. As I said, it's Dragonflies Dreams. If you just search for that on Facebook, you will find it. The reason why is because YouTube is just open to the public at large. I do expect that there will be trolls who come and, you know, try to provoke people in the comments. You know, it's a sad fact of life that there are people who don't have a life and get some sort of thrill from making other people angry, and there are some of those people who have targeted people with chronic illnesses. So I think I would prefer that we have discussions in the group rather than here on the YouTube page, simply because I suspect at some point the trolls are gonna find the videos, and it could just end up be really triggering for you to, you know, have to see some really ignorant comments. So yeah, I do recommend that you rather post questions, comments, whatever it may be, in the Facebook group. I will post each video there, so you can just comment underneath the video if you have any questions or any sort of comments. Okay, so to get started, what I'm going to cover in this video is who this course is for, and a little bit about my chronic illness story as it relates to Zazzle and this course. And then I'll give you a little bit of a story about how I got started on Zazzle, and yeah, just a little bit about my Zazzle story. I'll then explain how Zazzle works, and what the benefits of Zazzle are, specifically benefits of Zazzle for anybody, but also some of the things that are specific to people with chronic illnesses. And then I'll give the basic course outline so you can see what it is I'm going to be covering in the coming videos. So let's get started on who this course is for. So essentially, this course is mainly aimed at people who are unable to work a regular job due to chronic illness or disability. There are also people who currently are working a full-time job or a part-time job, but are struggling. It's taking a toll on their health. I know I wish I had started on Zazzle 10 years before I actually did, because I do believe that I would not be bedbound and as severely ill as I am now if I was able to quit my job, because pushing myself to be able to work every day definitely took its toll. The requirements in terms of what do you need in order to follow this course or to open a Zazzle store: obviously you need a computer, obviously you need internet access, you also need to, you know, understand how to use the internet. I know for the younger folks that's a given, but perhaps some of the older folks might be a little unsure. You know, there's nothing really complicated about it, but I'm basically, you know, I can't give a sort of an introduction to how to use the internet is kind of what I'm saying. So the course is going to assume that you know how the internet works. you also need to be able to look at a screen. Now, this issue in particular is something I'm going to address in a minute. So if you feel I have a problem looking at a screen, so I don't think I'm going to be able to do this, just hang in there for a few more minutes until I get to my Zazzle story, and then I'll explain a little bit more about why you might actually be able to do it. And then you need either a PayPal account or a US bank account. You need to be able to accept US bank account checks. So I would assume that only applies to people who live in the US, but I'm not sure. I get paid via PayPal, so I don't really know too much about how the whole check thing works. Nice to have things. So these are things you don't have to have, but if you do, it's an advantage. So obviously graphic design skills. You do not need to be a graphic designer in order to be able to have a store on Zazzle. I will cover that in a lot more detail at a later stage, but don't be put off if you're like, well, I don't know how, I've never designed graphics, I don't know how to do that. It's not necessary, and I'll cover that a little bit later in this video of why it's not necessary. It is a nice to have. Then also nice to have, not required, is a free Canva account or some kind of graphics editing software. If you do not have graphics editing software, it is not a problem. You don't have to have it. Once again, it's a nice to have. It gives you more options, but you don't have to have it. Obviously, Canva account is free for anyone to set up, so I do highly recommend that. But once again, it's not strictly speaking essential either. It's just a nice to have, and I will get into more detail on why that is. Okay, so now let's move on to my illness story. Basically, I'm 50 years old. I am living in Johannesburg, South Africa. I was in IT. I had a career. I was doing web design, graphic design, user experience, which is basically usability, which is, for me, I was making websites easy to use and simple to understand. I also developed and ran training as part of my job. Now, myalgic encephalomyelitis, I assume most of the people who watch this video will probably have myalgic encephalomyelitis, but for the people who don't have it and don't know about it, there are videos on my channel. There's a section, a playlist for that says something about myalgic encephalomyelitis, also known as ME. So you're welcome to go watch that, because that's going to explain it much better than I could. I was diagnosed in 1990 when I was 16 years old. I went from pretty mildly affected in the beginning to moderate over the years, and now eventually severe. I was working a full-time job. 2009 is when my health started to decline quite dramatically. I worked full-time until 2016. So, 2009 my health started declining, but I kept pushing until 2016 when I eventually had to quit my job. Now, when I say I was working full-time, I had a full-time job, but, as those years between 2009 and 2016 went by, I was able to work less and less. There were months where, I was not able to work even close to every day. In 2016, I then was housebound. So for those who are perhaps mildly or moderately affected with ME or don't have ME, essentially what happened was leaving the house for any reason became a problem, whether it was fatigue, feeling dizzy and nauseous, and there are a whole bunch of symptoms, and it just got to the point where I rarely left the house, but I was able to maybe go for coffee for an hour or two, or go to the shops if I had something I needed to do there. But essentially I was mostly required to be at home. Then in February 2017, I was involved in a sort of a short documentary piece on myalgic encephalomyelitis. As part of that involvement, I was interviewed, and I was also working on the MECFS South Africa Foundation's website. And because we had this broadcast happening on a particular date in February, I had to push through to really get the website ready so that after the broadcast people could go to the website and find out more information. In order to get that done, I worked through the night, and that, it turns out, was that one time I pushed myself. It was one time too many, and I've been bedbound ever since. Bedbound, what does that mean? It means I can get out of my bed to, go to the bathroom, or, go to the kitchen, but I can't stand or sit for too long. It's very variable depending on the weather, depending on my activity levels. Occasionally in winter I can leave the house and I can leave the house and go sit at a coffee shop, for example, and have a cup of coffee, which is just amazing. It's amazing how many things you take for granted. But that's, as I said, it's generally only in winter. When it's hot, I can't do it. So basically I am in my bed 99% of the day, but I can walk short distances. I have a wheelchair if I have to, for example, go to the gate when there's a delivery. So if I'm walking more than a couple of meters, then I have to use a wheelchair. Within the ME community, I'm known by a lot of people under the name Dragonflies Dreams, because after becoming bedbound, I started designing awareness graphics to create more awareness around ME, and some of them were quite popular. This is just an example of some of them. That one on the left there, that one's probably the most popular one, but these are just a few of the other images you might have seen over the years. Unfortunately, I eventually had to stop. I'm hoping that I will at some point be able to design more, but unfortunately with brain fog, coming up with ideas it's just been too difficult. I've been trying on and off for years to do a graphic sort of around the idea of the battery energy, and a comparison between healthy people, mildly affected, moderately affected, and severely affected. But I'm just struggling with sort of refining the concept. My major symptoms, I've covered a few already. So orthostatic intolerance, that's why I can't stand or walk for too long. I'm sharing these sort of major symptoms just to sort of give you an understanding of what my symptoms are, so that you can compare your symptoms to mine. And because there might be some of these symptoms which you think would disable you from being able to do Zazzle, And I'm hoping that in some cases at least that won't be the case. So I'm hoping that sharing my symptoms might give you a bit of encouragement to feel like, okay, maybe if she can do it, maybe I can do it too. So orthostatic intolerance, I can't sit or stand for too long, especially when it's hot. So if I do sit or stand for too long, I'll start to sweat and feel dizzy and feel nauseous. And essentially, I'm not going to go into the whole explanation of what orthostatic intolerance actually is. You're welcome to Google it if you're not familiar with it. But basically, it's got to do with the heart pumping blood against gravity. So if you're lying flat, it's much easier for your heart to get the blood up to your brain. And that's why if you have orthostatic intolerance and you stay standing or sitting for too long, you will pass out because it's insufficient oxygen to the brain. Brain fog, I mentioned a little bit earlier, essentially concentration. So it is something I do struggle with when working on Zazzle. Obviously, some days are worse than others. Anything that involves multitasking is a problem for me. Memory is really bad. So I do struggle with some things when it comes to working on Zazzle, but I'll cover those things in more detail and how I deal with them when we come to the relevant sections. Then muscle fatigue and weakness. That's, for me, it's more when if I walk around too much, I will my muscles just get really worn out very quickly. But sometimes it's not even, I'll be just lying in bed and just get this sudden intense feeling of weakness where I feel like I can't lift my arm. My muscles are also easily fatigued, and that's why typing, in particular on my phone, I can't do it. But I can't do it for long. And I think, as most people with ME know, your symptoms and the severity will fluctuate throughout a day. And, I refer to symptom soup because the ingredients always change. So my symptoms are not the same all day, every day. It changes, and there's seasonal changes and all kinds of things like that. I also have muscle and joint pain. I have an electric blanket on my bed that is on 24/7, 365, even when it's 30 degrees Celsius outside, because it helps a lot with my muscle pain. I do all of my work on Zazzle, obviously, from my bed. But yeah, those are issues. In winter, the muscle pain and joint pain is a lot worse. Thunderstorms can also trigger some nasty elevation of pain. I mean, I'm in pain. Muscle pain is 24/7, 365. It's only the severity that fluctuates. I also have involuntary muscle contractions, which reminds me, I did mean to mention when I was talking about at the beginning of the video about the sound, that I'm probably not going to do many, if any, videos with me with me speaking, mainly because I'm light sensitive, so I have blackout curtains in my bedroom, and I cannot have, people who generally record videos for YouTube or whatever have ring lights. I cannot have that light. I immediately get dizzy, nauseous, and I throw up. So lighting is a real problem. And I also just find, because I have these involuntary muscle contractions, I refer to it as doing the Mexican wave, because just out of nowhere my body does strange things, and I just feel like it would just be really distracting. As it is, my vocal issues, which are actually not too bad so far, sometimes they're quite horrific. So I just feel like that's enough of a distraction. So yeah, that's the only reason I'm not doing a sort of talking head video. I have nausea and vomiting. There are a lot of different things that can trigger that. One of the biggest ones is obviously the orthostatic intolerance, so if I'm standing for too long. The other thing is reading. So I can read a short article on my phone or on the computer, but I cannot read a book, and the amount I can read fluctuates. There's some times where even just reading an article or two triggers, the nausea and vomiting. So it is very dependent, but yeah, I would say in general, reading too much does cause nausea and vomiting if I don't stop. I have the speech issues that I've already mentioned, but there are a lot of other ones that have developed over the years. I sometimes will read a word, like for example, a very classic one that I don't think I'll ever forget is I read the phrase fresh strawberries. And when I just said fresh strawberries, you immediately get a picture of fresh strawberries in your brain. But what happens to me sometimes is words, there is no association. So I read the word fresh strawberries, but my brain just had no picture. I had no idea what that meant. So I had no picture of strawberries in my head, and I had no clue what those words meant. And generally when that happens, I will repeat the words fresh strawberries, and keep going until eventually, after a couple of seconds, my brain catches up and remembers, oh yeah, that's what fresh strawberries are. So that's just an example. And then comprehension issues, that's generally with reading as well, where I sometimes struggle I have to read the same thing over and over because I struggle to understand what I'm reading. And then, as I've mentioned already, the difficulty reading. And you might think, well, how do you do Zazzle if you struggle with reading? And I will get into that, but there's not as much reading as you might assume involved with working on Zazzle. Also, the dizziness, light sensitivity I've discussed, and the very popular unrefreshing sleep. So whether I sleep 8 hours or I sleep 12 hours, it doesn't matter how much I sleep, I still wake up feeling tired. That's a very common one for I think everybody with ME. So now, I see now I have kind of messed up my PowerPoint thing. Sorry, I'll make sure I get it right next time. So my Zazzle story. So when I first quit my job in 2016, I obviously was severely stressed out. I'm single. I had to move in with my mom because I couldn't, at that stage, I couldn't really take care of myself well. And I had no income. I had an income protection policy, but unfortunately, because I was diagnosed with ME at 16, that was excluded from my policy. So I literally had no money coming in at all. So my initial thought was, okay, I'm going to do web design and maybe some graphic design as a freelancer and try to make money like that. But essentially the two problems were deadlines. Obviously when your health is very unpredictable and symptoms fluctuate throughout a day and from day to day, it's very difficult to be able to commit to any sort of deadline. And obviously when you're working with clients, that's a requirement. You have to be able to say, okay, I'll be able to deliver your, website or graphics or whatever it is on such and such a day. And I couldn't do that. The other thing is, with the brain fog, it just made doing those kinds of things, working on websites, it just makes everything so much harder, and so it takes a lot longer. And then also because of the constraints in terms of how much time I could work, and I'm sure some of you listening will be very familiar with this and have gone through it. You can only work so much, and with certain things like websites and graphic design, it's very difficult sometimes to get people to pay you what essentially the service is worth, because there are sites like Fiverr. There are people in developing countries who can offer their services for a much lower rate. So in order to actually earn enough to support yourself, it's not that easy as a freelance, certainly as a web designer or graphic designer. So what happened was in 2018, as I said, I became bedbound at the beginning of 2017, and struggled until beginning of 2018. Essentially, it was basically a year after I became bedbound. I had been designing the awareness graphics that I just showed you. I'd been designing them all of that time, and a lot of them were very, very popular. And I had one or two people ask me if they could put it on a t-shirt. And that's when I remembered Zazzle, because I had discovered Zazzle many years ago. Sorry, here we go. Just a heads up, it's probably going to start getting worse from now, because that's generally how it works, because obviously this is a bit of exertion. So this stuff is going to get a bit worse. Please just be patient and hang in there. So I remembered Zazzle, and I knew how Zazzle worked, and so I thought, okay, I'll go put some of my designs on some t-shirts and posters and tote bags or whatever. So I opened a store and just added my designs to a couple of things. But and I mean, there were a couple of sales. I mean, in my first month I made 7 cents. But I had a couple of sales. But obviously the ME community is it's a smaller community, and people often don't have money for these things, precisely because of difficulties with work. But anyway, I really loved the experience of designing on Zazzle. So I decided, I got nothing else to do. I'm lying in bed all day, every day, and I love designing. So I'm going to design some other things. So I started designing some home decor items, pillows and blankets and that sort of thing. Didn't have a whole lot of success with that, and I'll explain to you when we get to a video where I will talk about why most people, I think, don't make money on Zazzle in particular, but it also applies to a lot of different sites like Redbubble and Society6, etc. So I did some home decor, and then I got into personalized gifts, and that's kind of where it really took off, because I think that's a major part of Zazzle's market, is the personalized gifts. A little bit later in this video we'll have a brief look at Zazzle, and I'll kind of show you what sort of personalized gifts I'm talking about, but that was really where I actually started to generate, a real income. I then moved on to, well, not moved on, I added events like weddings, funerals, baby showers. Mostly there you're looking at paper items, invitations, wedding programs, thank you cards, but also decor, banners and signs and even favors. They have chocolate covered Oreos, for example, that you can print on, and it's really a staggering variety of products that Zazzle has. So that's what I've kind of moved into. And I also have a little social justice store, which is not a big money maker for me, but these are just the different stores that I have. But definitely between personalized gifts and events, that's where I make most of my income. And these are all things I will get into a lot more detail with in later videos, but I'm just giving you sort of a high level overview at this point. This is the Zazzle's earnings report. These are my total. So this screen, and I know it makes no sense. When I first saw this, I could not make head or tail of what I was actually looking at. But this is your earnings summary. So when you go to your earnings section when you're logged in, it will show you a summary of all of your earnings. Now I know that makes no sense. I'll get into a lot more detail of what all of these things mean, but essentially the part I really wanted to show you, because I think a lot of people have tried, whether it's Zazzle or other print-on-demand sites or similar things, and have made no money and assume then that it's not possible to make money. So the only reason I'm sharing this with you is to show you that it is definitely possible to make very good money and make a living from your bed, from your home, whatever your situation is. The total earnings there is $252,000 US dollars, and that's from February 2018 to end of January 2025. I will, in one of my later videos, actually go through a month by month from the very beginning in 2018 to current, to show you exactly how long it took to build up my stores until I was making a decent amount of money. So I will go through all of that, but this is essentially just to tell you that it is possible to make a really good living. And I am not the best graphic designer. I mean, I did do some graphic design. I never studied it. I learned from a graphic designer I worked with who was really brilliant. But I am not a brilliant graphic designer. There are designs on Zazzle that I look at and I'm like, I wish I could come up with that kind of thing. But I'm sorry. Okay. Sorry. Oh gosh, now of course I've forgotten what I was trying to say. Sorry guys, hang in there. I'm sorry, but this is gonna happen probably on every video I ever do. So I don't remember what I was saying, but yeah, let's just move on. I'm sure I probably said everything I needed to say there. Very important at this point is for me to say that I cannot guarantee you will get the same results. Nobody can guarantee you that. There are a lot of different dependencies, and I also, I can't teach you how to design. I can teach you how to design templates, how to get design ideas, but I can't do your actual designs for you. I can't pick your niches for you. There are a lot of different variables that go into it. So I can't guarantee you're going to make the same amount of money that I do. You might make less, you might make more. I don't know. I can't tell you that. What I can share though is how I do it. So I can explain to you what stores I have, why, because I've got a number of stores, why I opened each of the stores, and the kinds of products that are generating the most income for me. I can also tell you how I manage various symptoms that can impact my ability to work. And I can also tell you what I've learned along the way, because I went through a lot of trial and error. As I said earlier, I designed home decor stuff that barely sold. And I now know the reason why. So I can share that with you. At first, I didn't see the point in designing wedding invitations, for example, because you only earn a couple of cents per wedding invitation. And whether it's brain fog or me just not really thinking it through, I didn't realize that with wedding invitations, for example, people are usually buying 100. I mean, I've had, I think the largest number of invitations I've had someone buy from me is 500. So, you know, those few cents per invitation add up, especially for weddings. Funerals as well can also be larger numbers. Obviously, if you're doing baby shower and birthday invitations, the volumes are a lot lower. But yeah, so I've learned a lot along the way about the kinds of designs that sell. When I first started, the designs I was doing were I got sales, but when I finally figured out the kinds of designs that sell, it was like night and day, the difference. So I can share what I've learned along the way about the kinds of designs. Sorry, I feel like I'm repeating myself. The kinds of designs and the kinds of products that sell. Because in the beginning I just was throwing spaghetti at the wall and seeing what stuck. So thankfully over the years I have learned a lot, and you know, I'm excited to share that with you, because I feel like that, you know, I liken working on Zazzle, having a store, to climbing up a ladder. And I would often take 2 steps up the ladder and then drop a step back, and it was kind of slow progress to learn all of these things and figure these things out. So what I'm hoping I can do for you is help you skip a few rungs on your way up the ladder, so that you can get I'm sure you know what I was saying. Yeah. And then also give advice and support while you build your store. So I'm happy to, you know, if you join the Facebook group and you share a design and you want some advice, or, you know, you want me to have a look at your store, I'm happy as and when I'm able. Obviously, you know, with my health limitations, I'm you know, I'm not going to make promises like I can, you know, I'll go through your store and give you a whole rundown of what you need to do to improve it, but I can certainly provide some advice and input for you. Okay, what Zazzle has done for me, I have to say that I am incredibly grateful for Zazzle, because to be quite honest with you, I don't think I would still be here if it wasn't for Zazzle, because independence has always been a critical thing for me. Since I was a child, I'm incredibly independent. So to go from, you know, being completely independent to having to move in with my mom, not being able to prepare my own meals, or go do my own grocery shopping or anything, and to not be able to pay for things. I'm the oldest of 5 kids, and to have to ask my younger brothers and sisters to buy me deodorant was just really rough, and I'm sure a lot of you can relate to that. So for me, the biggest thing Zazzle has done for me is given me independence, and I'm incredibly grateful for that. It's also given me a lot more confidence. It's very hard to feel good about yourself and have a good level of self-esteem when you feel like you're not independent, you're so reliant on other people, and it's just, being bedbound with ME is it's rough. I mean, I just don't even know how to describe the feel. I'm not even talking about the physical symptoms of it, but I'm just talking about on an emotional and mental level. It's a lot. And Zazzle has just been so fantastic for my self-esteem and my confidence levels. Also, what I found interesting that I didn't anticipate is, I've described it as a feeling of being in the world. When I first became bedbound, certainly a bit when I became housebound, but definitely when I became bedbound, there was just such a strange feeling of feeling separate from the world, because you're not at an office, interacting with people. You're not going to the grocery store, or you're just not seeing people. And because for me, WhatsApp messages, because typing, I either struggle physically with typing, or the brain fog is so severe that just formulating words to type is sometimes impossible. My brain just goes completely blank. So I just had a very strong feeling of isolation, and just kind of like I could just disappear and nobody would notice. And something interesting I found with Zazzle is because you get reviews. Not a lot, as I'm sure you know. I mean, I barely ever leave reviews. Although I must say, since Zazzle, since experiencing what a review means to me, I make more of an effort to post reviews when I buy something. But what I found was there were some reviews. In fact, I remember one in particular where this woman gave a review on a blanket that I had designed, that she'd bought, and in her review, she said how much she loved it, and she said that the person she gave it to cried when she saw it. And I'll start getting choked up now. It just made me so emotional. I started crying because it just kind of hit me that something that I designed was given as a gift to someone, and she was so touched by it that she cried. And I kind of felt like, even though I'm not physically out in the world and I'm not interacting face to face with people, something that dawned on me was that every day, somewhere in the world, because Zazzle, you have customers all over the world, every single day, at least one person somewhere in the world uses or looks at something that I designed, and they feel loved, they feel appreciated, and that for me is an incredibly touching thing. And it kind of makes me feel like I'm in the world. I'm not physically out there, but I'm having, some sort of impact on the world outside my bed. And that I find really gratifying. And also really important for my mental and emotional well-being is it gives me something constructive to do all day. And I'll get in, because some people are quite shocked when I say I work all day on Zazzle. First of all, I just want to stress, it's not necessary. You don't have to work all day, every day. There are a number of people, in fact, I would say the overwhelming majority of people who design on Zazzle, they're healthy, but they have full-time jobs. So Zazzle is their side hustle. So you do not have to, if you're feeling like, there's no way, my symptoms, I have to sleep 15, 16 hours a day, because at one stage that was me. I was sleeping around 17 hours a day. I literally I would wake up and half an hour later I could not keep my eyes open and I'd have to go back to sleep. So you don't have to work on it all day. The only reason I do is because I have nothing else to do. And if I'm lying in bed doing nothing all day, my mental health takes a nosedive, because then all I end up thinking about is, if I can't watch TV, because sometimes I do struggle with the screen. So on those days I can't work on Zazzle, and I can't read anything, and I can't watch, a movie or whatever. So I end up just sitting thinking about the state of my life, and that is really not healthy. So Zazzle gives me something. It's not just a way to pass the time, it's something constructive. I really enjoy being creative. It's a great creative outlet for me, which is fun. I enjoy it, and it's enjoyable, you create something and you look at it and you're like, oh wow, I really like that. Although I do have to tell you, don't worry if when you start out, you're like, oh, this is not great. Because let me tell you something, when I think back to the designs I did in, the first year, it's pretty horrendous, because that's exactly how graphic design works. I'm sure it's pretty much the same with any sort of skill, is that you get better and better as time goes by. So I look at stuff that I designed 20 years ago and I'm mortified, because hideous doesn't even begin to cover it. But that's exactly how any skill really works. The more you practice it, the better you get. So the designs I do today are leagues ahead of the designs I did 3-4 years ago, and the designs I do in 5 years' time will be much better than the stuff I'm designing now. So don't be discouraged if you feel like my designs are not great. Practice makes perfect, and stick with it. And I will also say that there have been things that I designed that I thought were going to fly off the shelves like hotcakes, and it was crickets. And then there have been other things that I've designed where I think twice before I hit the publish button, and I'm like, I don't know, I don't really like it, I don't think it's good, I don't know. And thankfully I've learned to just go for it, and sometimes those are the ones that sell all the time. And I'm still sometimes mystified where I'm like, really? Because I don't think it's that great. In fact, I think it's kind of ugly. I don't like it. But different strokes for different folks, and there are people who love stuff that you might hate, and vice versa. So I'm just saying to you, don't be discouraged if you feel like I could never, when we get in a few minutes to looking at some of the things on Zazzle, don't immediately be discouraged and think, oh, I could never do that, so there's no point. When I started, I'll be honest, I looked at the bestsellers list on Zazzle and I was like, I can never do design like these people do. But you will get better no matter what your skill level is at right now, whether it's non-existent or you've been a graphic designer for decades. Whatever your skill level is, it will improve. Okay, so as I did mention a few minutes ago, I do spend all day, most days. I can't say every day, 365 days of the year. I do, like in December, I took a couple of days off just because I really had that sort of end of year fatigue. So I took a couple of days off. There are times where I struggle with looking at a screen, and so then, or I'm just extra tired. I am needing to sleep a lot more hours than normal. So it's not 365 days of the year, but most days I work most of the day. You know, I can't really explain. I can tell you that I did ask my doctor who deals with ME. I said to her one day, I said, I don't understand why I can play, there's a computer game called The Sims, which I love. And it's quite a relaxing game because you can build houses and decorate them and you know, that sort of thing. It's not like a stressful game. And I can play that all day, literally from the moment I wake up till the moment I go to sleep. I can also design on Zazzle all day. But if I try to work with a spreadsheet or do a lot of reading or even typing, I can't. And it's not even just the physical thing, it's the brain function thing. My brain cannot, I get this feeling of just being overwhelmed where my brain is just like, nope, can't deal with it. And in discussing it, we figured that it's probably an issue of, you know, and I know that apparently the right brain, left brain thing has been debunked. I don't know, but what it boils down to is the difference between creative, using a creative, maybe not creative part of the brain, but doing creative things versus something that requires a lot more mental processing. Yeah, so I mean, look, I can't exactly explain it. But what I can say to you is, and I think this is the next, what I can say to you is that if you feel like you struggle, you can't look at a screen. Because initially that's what I thought, because what started happening was I would be doing some kind of work on my computer, and by the time evening came, I would start to feel really nauseous and I would start sweating and then I would throw up. And this was happening every single night. And eventually, it took me a while, I figured out that it was reading. So, because at first I assumed, oh boy, it's now happening where I can't use screen, what am I going to do? But I figured out that it was actually reading that was the problem, not the screen. So that's why I can play The Sims all day without a problem, because it's not the screen, it's just reading that is a problem. So that's definitely a big factor for me. Zazzle mostly involves creativity in terms of design, and there are little bits of reading, but it's not a lot, and I find that it's not a lot of, I don't know really how to describe it other than to say sort of mental processing. There are certain aspects, when I'm trying to analyze my sales to figure out which kinds of products are earning me the most money, that sort of stuff, where that my brain just wants to explode. My brain says time out, I can't figure it out. But designing is a completely different experience. And thankfully for those things where I do with Zazzle, because obviously you have to write a description for all of your products, and that kind of thing I really struggled with. When we get to one of the later videos, I'll go into more detail about that. But AI is the most fantastic thing that has ever happened. It might just be the death of us all in the end, but for now it's really fantastic how much help it can offer you. All I have to do is open up ChatGPT, upload a screenshot of the product, and it gives me a description. I just copy and paste. So there are tools and resources available that can make a lot of your work on Zazzle much easier. So that's how I get by with get around the issue of having to write and the brain fog issues. Okay, sorry. All right, then the other thing I've discovered is I've set my laptop to dark mode, and there are some websites like Canva, canva.com, which is a free online graphics and templates tool. A lot of people I know are familiar with that. They have a dark mode as well. So essentially what dark mode is instead of everything on your screen being white, which is very bright, which for me being light sensitive is a problem. I can't stare at a bright screen for too long, otherwise I start to feel sick. So having dark mode means that the screen is not so bright. It's also why I put a sort of a darker blue background on this presentation, so that it's not as bright in your face, so that hopefully it's a bit easier to look at the screen with the blue background than it would be if it was white. I also have an overbed desk, so it's essentially like a hospital. You have those hospital desks, tables that they've got on wheels, and you can roll them over your bed. So that's what I have with my laptop, a lot of my medications, my big water flask, all that sort of stuff. I have all on my desk, and then when I go to sleep, I just roll it to the end of the bed, and it makes life a lot easier. I also have an adjustable bed, so that I have a remote that will lift the back up, so that I can be relaxed, lying back relaxed, and I'm not quite sitting completely sort of vertical. So I, over the years have, and thanks to Zazzle, I've been able to get these things. I have a bunch of things that make my life a lot easier, and make it much more comfortable to work all day. As I said earlier, I've got the electric blanket. I also have a heating pad behind my back, because I do struggle with, my back is permanently sore. It's just the pain level that fluctuates, but it's always sore. So I pretty much have that heating pad on behind my back most of the day. I mentioned the fan and the aircon. I mean, my aircon will be on 17 degrees when it's a summer day. Unfortunately, with global warming, we now have 30 plus degrees. The temperatures are 30 plus degrees in Johannesburg, Celsius, obviously, most days in summer, and that's incredibly unpleasant for me. It aggravates a lot of my symptoms. So I've got my aircon on 17 degrees Celsius, and even then I have to have the fan right next to me. It's literally right next to my bed, and it's on full blast, again, 24/7, 365. Because it doesn't matter how cold it is outside, I am always hot, always overheating. If I move away from the fan, my cheeks literally go the color of beetroot. It's unbelievable how badly I overheat. So those things make life a lot more comfortable and easier for me to work. Once again, in future videos where we start to get into the nitty-gritty of working on Zazzle, designing and all the things that are involved, I will get into more detail about how I manage the symptoms I have. But for now, let's actually have a look at Zazzle. So I highly recommend, if you haven't already, that you go browse around on Zazzle.com just to familiarize yourself with the kinds of products they have. Yeah, just go have a look around and see how, what kinds of things they have. If you have a look on there's a little menu thing on the left, and you open it up, you can see the various options. If you go have a look at the categories, you can see there's a wide variety of categories, and if you go into each category, you'll see there's an unbelievable variety of products that are available on Zazzle. Here's an example of gifts under $50. So these are personalized gifts. So if you have a look at the pillow on the left, you can see it's got a photo and then the family name. We'll have a look at that one a little bit closer now, but you can see there's also a photo block there. There's an apron. There's a tote bag, which is not personalized, but I will tell you the vast majority of products, and certainly the ones that sell, are ones that have personalization, whether it's photos or text. So having a look at this pillow as an example, and this is a good example to show that you don't have to have graphic design skills, because essentially all this is a pillow that has a photo on each side, and that text family, and then text the family name. So how that is customized is, you'll see on the right hand side there's that personalize this design button in blue, and then below it also says personalize this template. So if you click on either of those, it opens up this little pop-out that comes out, where all the areas of the product that are customizable will show up. So you can see there it says name and the two photos. So the word family is not customizable, but the photos and the family name are customizable. So literally all you do is, as I've shown here, you change the name and you change the photos. And that's pretty much, that's all a customer does. So they go change the text, change any images, and done. But you can see you don't have to be a graphic designer to do that. The setting up of the template in terms of saying, okay, put a photo that's a full-size photo on this side of the pillow, put another full-size photo on the back, and put this text in that the customer must customize, is all done within Zazzle. There's a design tool which we will go into in a future video, where I'll show you exactly how it works. So all of that is done within the Zazzle tool. So that's why you don't have to have any graphics, you don't have to have Photoshop, you don't have to have any external tools in order to be able to create a product like this. This is really simple. Then also, along the lines of graphics not being an essential part, if you look at the wedding invitation in the top right, you can see it has a photo of the couple, and then everything else is pure text. And the same with the bottom, the middle two invitations at the bottom. The one is white, the other one is black. Those are pure text. So you don't have to be a graphic designer. Obviously the other ones on that page, although actually even the one on the right, bottom right, it does have that wedding text, is very fancy calligraphy. That is done as a graphic. It's not possible to do that within the tool, but everything else, all the other text on that page, is done within the Zazzle tool. I will show you how, if you want to do special text like that, how you can do it in a tool like Canva. It's really easy. So it's very easy, and these, by the way, are these are selling well. These are popular products. So that's why I say you don't have to have Photoshop, you don't have to have, graphics, you don't need to be a painter, you don't need any of these things in order to make a good living designing, wedding invitations or pillows, blankets, whatever it is. So how Zazzle works is it's what is known as a print-on-demand company. So all that means is they don't have stock. They don't, that pillow that we just looked at, they don't have, 10,000 of them sitting in a warehouse somewhere waiting for someone to buy. Because they're customized, it's print-on-demand. So only when a customer places an order is that product then produced. So what they do is, because there are some print-on-demand companies like Printful and Printify, where they only have the blanks. You can then create your designs, but you have to sell them yourself. So there are very large number of these sellers on Etsy. That's what they do. They have an account with Printify or Printful. They have the design. A customer places an order on Etsy. The store owner sends that through to Printful or Printify, who then print it on the product and then ship it. The only issue that I had with that is you have to, if you are going to have an Etsy store and you want to sell t-shirts or whatever, and you're getting them via Printful or Printify, you have to pay up front for that order before they will start to make it. But you only get your money from Etsy at a later stage. So essentially you're having to pay up front before you get paid for those products. Whereas Zazzle does not work that way at all. How Zazzle works is that independent designers, so that's what I am, that's what you would be, you create your design. So as I said, you have the design tool, you create your designs, and whether it's for a pillow, a blanket, an invitation, a banner, a chocolate covered Oreo, whatever it is. So you create your design, you give it a title, you give it a description, and you publish it. And Zazzle does everything else. So they do the order processing, they print the actual product, they ship it, and they deal with the customer service. So it is an incredible thing where you only have to focus on the designing, and everything else is Zazzle takes care of. Their customer service is excellent. They have a 100% money back guarantee. If you're not completely happy with whatever you've ordered, they will refund it, replace it, whatever. I've never had to do that. I've ordered a number of things. My brother got married a few months ago, and I ordered a blanket I designed, shipped here to South Africa. I think it took six or 7 days to arrive from the date of the order till the day it arrived. I've ordered a variety of different things over the years, and I've never had a quality issue with anything. And if you look at their reviews on any product, you will see that they have really good ratings. Their quality is known to be good, which, for me is also really important, because you don't want to be have a store on a website where the quality of the products is really awful and people are constantly complaining. The only complaints I've ever seen have been about like during Christmas, about late delivery, because obviously there's sometimes going to be issues. I think every retailer has issues in December with keeping up with demand. Where they have been, I saw on one of the cornhole board sets that I sold, The review said there was an issue with the first delivery, but they said Zazzle was fantastic. Their customer service, they immediately replaced it, and she was thrilled. So you can at least also feel good about the products that are being sold through your store, because they are good quality, and where there is an issue, Zazzle is really good at resolving that issue. So now you make a sale, someone buys something of yours, after 30 days, that sale is then cleared, which basically means they allow 30 days for people to request refunds or to cancel an order. Sometimes a person places an order, and then a few minutes later or a day later, or whatever it is, they cancel it. So that 30-day period allows for Zazzle to make sure that they're not going to pay you for an order that they're then going to have to refund. So after 30 days, your sales are then cleared, and then at the end of the month, so they calculate on the last day of the month, so 31st of January, they have a look at what sales have now cleared. So they've sales that you've made more than 30 days before. Oh gosh, sorry, I'm struggling with words, but I'm hopefully you're keeping up with me. So the last day of the month, they calculate which sales happened more than 30 days ago. Those are the cleared sales. Those are the sales you will be paid on the 15th of the following month. So 31st of January, they calculate which sales have cleared, and then on the 15th of February, you get paid for all of those sales that have cleared, if that makes sense. So Christmas sales, the December, that's obviously a big, your sales, that it's the best month of the year. You get paid for those essentially in February, middle of February, because of the 30-day clearance period, and it's only calculated at the end of that month. And as I said earlier, you paid either via PayPal or a US check. The key benefits of Zazzle is, number one, no fees. So Zazzle does not charge you, Etsy, you pay a couple of cents US dollars for per listing. Zazzle does not charge you any fees for setting up a store. There are no fees. The only time Zazzle will ever bill you, there's two scenarios. The one is if you charge, because you choose your own royalty rate. So the royalty rate is how much you make per sale on each item that you sell. Your royalty rate has to be at least 5%. That's the minimum. If you can set any royalty rate you want, but if your royalty rate is 15% plus, they then charge you a fee. I think it's a 5%. They deduct 5% from your sales for those products that you're charging a 15% royalty on. I'm not too familiar with how all of that works, because I don't. My royalty rate is set to 14.9%, specifically to avoid that fee. So as long as your royalty rate is between 5 and 14, between 5 and 15%, there are no fees at all. The other scenario is if you do not publish a product for 15 months. So 15 consecutive months, you don't publish any new products. They will then charge you, I think it is currently $2 a month. That $2 a month only comes out of any earnings you still have. So if you have no earnings in your account, you don't have any positive balance, they don't bill you that fee. That fee will come out of any money they owe you until that money is exhausted, and then that's it. So you are never going to have to pay out of your own pocket. Zazzle you will never ever have to pay Zazzle out of your own pocket for anything. So that is a huge deal, because there are not a lot of sites that offer that opportunity to have a store without any fees. The other great thing is no marketing is required. So I did zero marketing, other than occasionally I would share if there was a special sale happening at Zazzle. I might have shared, I used to, and then I stopped doing it. I would share maybe on my Facebook page that, hey, there's a 20% discount on t-shirts. If you want to get one of the ME awareness t-shirts, there's a 20%, 30%, whatever it is. But I did no marketing. I have on and off done Pinterest marketing, which I will get into in a later video. There's a guy who has Zazzle stores who has built his own tool that basically automates pinning products on Pinterest. The great thing, it also does a bunch of other things, but I only use the tool for Pinterest because the research I did says that the vast majority of shopping on social media sites happens on Pinterest. The great thing there is you don't have to just promote your own products, you can promote anyone's products. So if you have any sort of social media following, a site with an account with a lot of followers, you can not even open a store, you don't have to design any products, you can simply promote other people's products, and if anyone follows your link and buys anything, they don't even have to buy the product that the link that they clicked on, they can buy any product. And you get a 15% commission on that. It's called a referral fee. So that's another way that you can generate some income. I'll have to, obviously when we come to that video, I'll give more details on how much I've managed to earn on that. Nowhere close to what I've earned on my stores, but I haven't really dedicated a lot of time to the whole social media marketing, just because I don't have to, which is the fantastic thing. So you don't have to worry about how am I going to promote my store. And I mean, if you have a social media following or whatever, you of course can share your a link to your store, you can promote it, but you don't have to. In fact, I would say that the vast majority of Zazzle store owners don't market their stores outside of Zazzle. The other great benefit is you work when you can, so there's no clocking in and clocking out. So for people who are chronically ill, that is a really great benefit of Zazzle. So if I wake up in the morning and after an hour or 2 hours, whatever it is, I can hardly keep my eyes open, or I'm having a really bad pain day where the pain is too distracting, I'm struggling, I can go to sleep, I can watch a movie, I can do something else, I don't have to work. And if you are like, I can only work 1 hour a week, that's all the time I can put in, I still say go for it, it's not a problem. Yes, are your earnings going to be limited because you're only putting in an hour a week, which means the number of products you're able to produce is a lot lower. Oh, sorry. Phone alarm. So, oh gosh, brain fog. As soon as I get distracted by something, I forget what I was saying. So you only, if you can, yes, that's what I was saying. If you can only work an hour a week, your number of products is going to be lower. and that means that you have less of a variety, which obviously means you're going to sell less. But it's better than nothing. I mean, I wish I'd started 10 years before I did, and even if I'd only managed to put in an hour a week, by now I would have a huge catalog of products from that, sorry, I'm really starting to struggle. I'm sure you know what I was trying to say. So, it's not that if you can't work on it full time, you're not going to make money. I feel like I did mention it earlier, and I apologize. Obviously, a big side effect of the brain fog is that I do tend to repeat myself. But oh gosh, and now I've done it again. I'm so sorry. These videos are never going to be slick productions, because if I tried to record just audio that wasn't full of me umming and ahhing and forgetting what I was saying and whatever, I would be here for a year trying to produce one video. It's just not going to happen. I also just do not have the time or the energy to edit videos. So, all of my umming and ahhing and I don't know what I was saying, all of that stuff is going to be left in. So, please be patient and bear with me. I'm just going to move on. You can work from anywhere. That's also, an obvious thing. You can work from your bed. It doesn't matter where you are in the world. You can, as long as you have a computer and internet access, you can work. The other great thing is they, number one, have international shipping. So, I've had customers in Japan, Canada, Germany, France, Switzerland, Canada, Australia, I think I might have mentioned that already, all over. But what's also great is they have regional stores. So there's the .com.au Australian store. There's a whole bunch. In the top right corner of their website, you'll see if you go to .com, Zazzle.com, there's an American flag. If you click on that, you can choose a different regional store. So if you are French speaking, living in France, and you want to design for the French market, you can go sign up on the Zazzle.fr site, and you can do all of your designs in French. Personally, number one, I can't really give any advice on that side of it, because I only design on the .com store. And I would say, unless you really struggle with English and you're like, I can't produce designs in English, I would highly recommend opening your store and designing on the .com. What they do is that I have seen that if you go to the products are the same. So if you open up, you have a look at a product, like even that cushion we were just looking at. If you go to the URL and you just change .com to .fr, it will show you that exact same cushion, but the title, the description, all of that stuff is automatically translated into French. So I would recommend signing up on the .com site and designing there, unless, as I said, you're not proficient in English and you'd be more comfortable just sticking to the regional store. But as I said, it is all the same products. I'm not sure if the French, if you sign up in France on the French version of the site and you publish products, I don't know if it works the other way, so that if I open up that same product on the .com store, that everything will be translated into English, I don't know, but I certainly know it does work the other way around. Yeah, which is great because it means that the entire world is your customer base. So you can, for example, during Christmas, I designed a t-shirt with a picture of the Eiffel Tower, and it had French text on it. So I published it in my .com store, and I had sales, and I can't remember. I think the buyers were actually in America, but obviously you have French people, in Canada you've got French Canadians. So yeah, anyway, I'm never going to go into a whole lot of detail on the regional aspect of it because I'm not, super familiar with it. It doesn't really matter to me, but if that's something you'd be interested in, it's certainly something that is available that you can look into. As I mentioned already, no marketing required. So you can obviously market your stuff, but you don't need to. It's not necessary. And the best thing is that you can earn even while you're not able to work. So when I have bad days, I was diagnosed with late onset type 1 diabetes last year. And so I was in hospital for a few days, and before that I had been really struggling health-wise. So I had probably about 2 or 3 months where I was not very productive at all on Zazzle, and I still made sales every day. So, people often talk about passive income, and I think a lot of people misunderstand it and think that means that you just, you create something, you set up some sort of business, and then you just kick back and relax and it just keeps bringing in income. There is no such thing. There really is no such thing. But for me, what passive income means is that even when you're sleeping, when you're off sick, when you're on vacation, whatever it is, that you can still make money. You don't actively have to, like a retail store, you don't have to be sitting in your store or paying someone else to sit in your store in order to make money. So that is a huge benefit with Zazzle for people who do have health issues, chronic health issues. Okay, so now finally we get to the course outline. What am I going to be sharing in this course? So the first thing is choosing a niche, because before you open a store, you need to think about what kind of products you're going to sell and who you're going to target with it. And that is, I can give a lot of advice and input and suggestions from that perspective. As I said, I had my ME awareness store. I then created a separate store for home decor products, and then I created a personalized gift shop. And in that gift shop is where I started throwing the spaghetti at the wall to see what stuck. And I discovered, wedding invitations actually a really good idea. So I had wedding invitations in my personalized gift shop, which obviously doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But as I said, at the time, I was just throwing products in there to see what sold. So then I created a separate wedding store. I have a business branding store. I have a funeral or memorial store. I recently opened a baby store. So, there are different ways to approach it. I will share with you my experience and what the different options are, where to get ideas, how do you choose a niche. I'll give you, as much information as I can on that. Then I'll take you through the process on Zazzle of how you set up a store, help you with, how to pick a name for your store, and just take you through that process. Then, we'll look at setting a royalty rate, how to choose the royalty rate. Does it make a difference? if you set it at 5% or 14.9 or something in between. We'll go through all of that. And then how do you come up with design ideas? Especially if you're someone who is not a graphic designer, you've never done design, how do you come up with ideas? Then how, using the Zazzle design tool, do you actually design the template? So how do you create your products? And how do you make that pillow we looked at? It has 2 photos, one on each side, and then some text you can customize. So how do you set that up? And then how do you publish your design? What's involved there? What's important? And how do you optimize your product for search engines so that it scores well on Zazzle's internal search engine as well as Google, etc. One of the things I used to do in my IT career was search engine optimization, so it's something I am familiar with, and I can offer, I feel, some really good advice on that end. And then I'll take you through the reports, all the different reports that are available, how to use AI to analyze your reports, because if you're anything like me with the brain fog issues I have, that's incredibly hard for me. Whereas with ChatGPT, you literally just download the spreadsheet, the report from Zazzle, upload it to ChatGPT, and you can then ask it questions. Which type of products sell best in January? Obviously you would then have to have a couple of years data. So for me, I can put in my full sales history and then say, okay, from 2018 to now, which types of products? So when I say types of products, I mean mugs, blankets, invitations, etc., etc. Which types of products sell best in January, in February, in March? You can ask all kinds of questions and get data that can really help you work smart with your store. And then how to maintain your store, deleting products that are not selling, all of that sort of housekeeping, general kind of stuff, which is not a major part of it. It's not labor intensive. It's not like you've got to spend a whole day every week, doing kind of admin type stuff. But I will take you through the kinds of things that I do that I find beneficial. And then what I'll also talk about is optional tools and resources, both free and paid, that you can use to, whether it's just to make your life easier or to give you more options in terms of the designs that you can create. There are a lot of free options. For the first couple of years, because obviously I wasn't making, certainly the first year, maybe the first 2 years, I wasn't spending money on any sort of tools. Now I have some subscriptions to a site like freepick.com where I can get photos to use, because that pillow we looked at, there are obviously sort of placeholder photos that the customer then replaces, but you have to put those placeholder photos in, and you need good photos, because when I started, I really, my photos were not great that I was using, and it makes a huge difference to the visual appeal of your product. So it's important to have really good photos, and you can get free ones. There's a number of sites where you can go and get really good quality free photos, so I will take you through those tools. There's a whole bunch of different resources. If you want to produce wedding invitations, for example, that have watercolor flowers on them or things, I can show you where to get those, what the most cost-effective resources are, what to look for, all of that kind of stuff. So I'm really going to share with you everything that I use, things that I did use that I don't use anymore, and as many free options that are available. and also, as I said, AI tools, etc., that can just make your life so much easier. So in summary, essentially what I hope you hang on to from this video is it is possible to make a good living with Zazzle. You know, there are a lot of people who have tried print on demand and made $100, you know, in a year. You know, it is possible with Zazzle. I can't tell you how to make money on Redbubble, because I tried that and, you know, I didn't earn a cent. I haven't done Etsy for a number of reasons, so I can't help you with that. But when it comes to Zazzle, I know that it is possible to make a really good living. There are lots of people making a hell of a lot more money than I am, and obviously a hell of a lot of people making a hell of a lot less. But I do feel like I have got information to share with you that will help you skip a few rungs as you're going up the ladder. Of course, not everyone who follows the course is going to, you know, stick with it and make, you know, their fortune on Zazzle. I can't design your products for you, but I can certainly give you as much information and suggestions and advice through these videos to help you maximize your odds of having a successful store. No special skills or software is required. As long as you can use the internet, that's pretty much all you need in order to be able to create a store. You can run a successful store with no money. You do not have to have money, you do not have to spend money in order to make money on Zazzle. They don't charge you anything, and there are no tools that are an absolute must that you have to go and pay for. You can earn even when you're too ill to work. So this is not a case of, well, I'm too ill, I could probably only, you know, do an hour a day or an hour a week. You can still make money on Zazzle even if you're not working all day every day. So finally, I don't even know how long I've been babbling now, but I'm really tired now, so I think I've been talking for a while. So I apologize if I've been going on for too long. Like I said, you know, just if you're struggling at all with the video, just pause it and come back at a later stage. I am going to figure out how to put chapters on this video, so you can also, you know, jump around, because I know with brain fog I often have to watch something a number of times before it sinks in. So I'm going to try and make that easy for you with chapters. As I said, if you do have questions, please join the Facebook group. That is at least I hate to use the term, but a safe space where we can have discussions and you can ask questions without having to deal with unpleasant people. So please do join the Facebook group. I will post the links to new videos as they come out. You can, of course, also or instead subscribe to the YouTube channel just to make sure you don't miss any videos. Please, if there are any questions I haven't answered that I should have, issues I should have addressed, you know, brain fog is a challenge, so I might have left something out that is glaringly obvious to everyone else but my brain fog brain. So if there are questions you have, any concerns or whatever it is, please do join the Facebook group and post there. I'm more than happy to answer questions, address issues. As I said, I might just have to say to you, okay, I'll address it in the next video. But yeah, I will make every effort to answer any questions that you have. I'm now going to sign off the way I do usually in my Facebook, on my Facebook page, is I end most of my posts saying I wish you better days, or just the short better days. you know, when you have a chronic illness, it's, you know, some of the sort of things that we say, like, oh, you know, I hope you feel better, I hope you recover, these things are not really always applicable. And I just find it better to say, you know, I wish you better days, whatever that means for you. I hope you have better days. So better days, everybody, and I hope to see you for the next video. Thanks so much for watching.